common approach has been created to make it easier for social purpose organizations to focus on the measures that matter most to them so they can manage their impact, while also equipping those they work with, the networks, their funders, their investors, to get data so that those groups can figure out their impact. And the key to this is flexible, shareable data. And the key to that is aligned softwares. So the series is helping our audience, those are our investors, foundations, social purpose organizations, be they charities, cooperatives, social purpose businesses, get a sense of what the aligned softwares are like, because the key to being a part of this common approach to impact measurement is using an aligned software. There are a large number of aligned softwares. There are 9 that are aligned or aligning, and then 3 others, in-house solutions that are also aligned, and they're all different. One of the reasons Common Approach didn't try to create our own software is we know that the needs in the marketplace are very diverse. And what is beautiful about this strategy of inviting many of the software platforms out there to align with a common impact data standard is it allows each software to serve the needs of a particular group. So it is my pleasure today to introduce b.world. I'm going to let them show off their product. But what I'd like to highlight for you about what I think makes this product really special is that it has been designed first and foremost with the needs of that social purpose organization in mind, learning how to measure and manage its own data. There are a lot of other great ways to approach this problem, and a lot of our partners have focused on the relationship between the social purpose organization and their funder, and they have good solutions for that relationship. But where b.world stands out is really focusing on the needs of just that social purpose organization and making it really, really user-friendly. So I think it's a really nice offering to our mix of aligned software, and I'm really, really excited to pass the floor over to Dan, who's going to show you what they can do. Thanks.
Awesome, Kate. Thank you so much for having us. It's I guess we're lucky number 7 in the mix, which is wonderful. And I get to be the presenter today, but I also want to note that I'm presenting on behalf of all of our team members, designers, engineers, product managers, brand managers, et cetera, who have contributed to this, but also a very large group of folks that we've been learning from over the course of the last few years as b.world's been in the market, and as we imagine what easy self-service impact measurement and management software might look like. And I also want to note that that's still very much a learning journey. So we welcome any feedback you have today, and please feel free to reach out anytime. And finally, I just want to recognize the native peoples of Puerto Rico, where I'm presenting to you from today, the Tainos, and just thank all of you for your time. And I really hope that this will be a good use of your hour today. So with that, I'm going to jump into b.world, or b.world as we sometimes affectionately call it. And I'm going to start off with the website, just to give you a quick tour around and make sure you know how to get to the application if you want to start a free trial or play around with the application for your own purposes or for your organization. So the website is b.world, and the application is here. There's lots of information about features, the audiences we're focused on, and pricing as well, which I'll get to a little bit later. But as you can see here, you can start a free trial and jump into the application anytime you'd like. So just need to get to my other tabs, which are hiding underneath my Zoom. So apologies for that, folks. So I'll just change this URL, and I'm going to jump into b.world itself. And so the app that I'm going to show you today is our demonstration instance. So it has lots of impact projects in it, and that'll hopefully highlight a number of the different features. But the idea is that when you first come into b.world for the very first time, you really just see an empty screen. And this highlights our goal of being really user-centric and hopefully very obvious to follow the path through the application. So when you first come in, you see the navigation along the left, and this nice big plus sign, which is intended to try to get people to go create projects. And there's a couple of different ways to create projects. One of which is you can do it through a prompt. So you can actually just click the prompt and paste in any text that you want, maybe from a grant proposal or a project definition document, etc. You can also give it a URL. So maybe you have a program or project page out there in the internet, and of course you can create them manually as well. But this is the first of 4 kind of key AI features that we have. But just to show you what project looks like once you've gotten into it, I'm going to do a search for this sort of sample project we have about called Collaborative Impact Grants, or a CIG program, which is essentially a group of organizations coming together to try to improve the capacity of other organizations in the environment to achieve overall economic impact in the island of Puerto Rico. So here we have this Collaborative Impact Grants project, and I'm going to just hop into the project. And there's really 3 main ideas behind each project in the application. First is design, and how do you design effective programs? And so the overview and whiteboard tabs are really focused on that aspect of effective and transparent program design. And then you get into project management, implementation, and measurement, which include the log frame, documents, tasks, and budget, which I'll show you. And then the last part that b.world really focuses on is communications, not just once a year during the impact reporting season, so to speak, but ideally all along the way, because that learning happens in between those reports and in between that context. And so whether it's publishing stories because you're obligated to as part of a relationship, or for creating a body of knowledge for your organization and or for your partners that you work with in community, the Stories tab is really intended to take all of that project context and make it accessible to others. So on the overview tab, you really answer the W questions, right? The main dimensions of these programs. And so you have things like dates, the challenge statement and proposed solution. We try to make these really user-friendly. So for example, there's pop-up text and guidance within the application that try to guide the user in that process of writing a good challenge statement about the actual issue that they're trying to overcome. The challenge and proposed solution answer the why question. The location is an interactive map that you can zoom in and out on and add project locations for the people, organizations, things, and the project itself. And then the stakeholders, the who and what you might be working with, are down here at the bottom. So you get a very lightweight kind of CRM for those that use CRM systems. The idea being that you can see when different people are engaging in this project, and then of course that rolls up across the stakeholders on the left-hand side and the navigation as well. So it gives you and anybody who's looking for this project a good high-level overview of when did it happen, or when is it happening? Why are you doing this work? Where are you doing this work, and with who or whom or what are you actually doing the work as well? So that sets the stage for sort of, how are you going to go about trying to achieve the outcomes that you're looking to achieve within the context of the program. When we started to research the challenges around program design, we noticed that people used, in some cases, digital whiteboards, things like maybe Miro or Lucidchart, but most often they used, things like paper or PowerPoint. And so the main idea behind the whiteboard is to get people out of those digital independent tools and bring that into context within the application itself. So we have one project whiteboard, which is connected to the log frame, and then as many idea whiteboards as you want. And I'll show you the whiteboard in a second, but you can use the idea whiteboards for things like stakeholder maps or data collection processes or overall process diagramming and those types of things if you like. And so the project whiteboard is really where the main concepts of program design come into play within b.world. And essentially what you have is an infinite collaborative canvas that you can see I'm sort of dragging around the screen and zooming in and out from. And the idea is, in this space, you can visually represent the pathway via which you're going to execute your hypothesis for impact. And so on the left-hand side, we have some major components, things like goals, which represent the higher level impact at a societal level, objectives, which represent outcomes that help achieve those goals, activities that are the things that you're going to do in the project to achieve those objectives. And then, of course, as you would expect, we have indicators. You can drag and drop these onto the screen if you like. and then use the lines to connect them up. And once you do that, you can end up with a picture like this, where in this case, you're saying, this is our overall mission, which we've used sort of a decorative shape for. But our goal is to create a stable, productive, and self-sufficient Puerto Rico. You have a series of objectives that help lead to that, some activities that you're going to execute upon to bring that to bear, and then some quantifiable output level measurements that you've got down at the bottom. All along the way, you can also add narrative. So in here, you might say, for example, we made a decision to design this program in a certain way, and I might tag that as a decision, and I'll just add that narrative insight. So instead of tracking all these kinds of notes and information in some notebook or third-party application, you can put that right inside the context of this. And you can also download this in different formats as well, which is really nice to be able to send it out, share it in different means, and so on and so forth. If you're not sure how to design a program, you can actually click the Draft with AI button, and I'll just show you how that works.
So to show how powerful this AI capability can be in the context of project design, I'm going to jump up here to the Draft with AI button in the b.world whiteboard. And when I click that, the app is going to reach out to OpenAI based on the project overview, and it's going to come back with a suggested project framework that you remain entirely in control over. In this case, we came back with one overarching objective that leads to the achievement of the overall goal for the project, a number of different objectives that lead to achievement of that impact level goal, a number of activities that we might want to execute to try to achieve those objectives, and then a series of different indicators, or at least suggested indicators, that might help us measure our progress along the way. You, as I mentioned, are always in control of this. Everything is editable. And we also ensure that anything that's generated with AI is visually identifiable. And in this case, you see that with these dotted lines.
But once you've got your project whiteboard put together, you can convert that then into a more structured implementation program, which we've intentionally chosen the word log frame in the application. So the log frame is just a more structured view of that representation that you created and the model you created inside of the whiteboard. And you can convert from that whiteboard to a log frame with a single click, as opposed to translating from PowerPoint to Excel. So here you get into sort of implementation, right? We're moving from design into at least the initial stages of implementation. If your project or program is adapting along the way, you can add new activities, indicators, you can add insights, you can redesign different components of this as well. And then as you get into implementation and you begin to collect the results from the program, you can actually get into the indicator data tables like this one, where in a very simple format here, we're just tracking the participation in this impact grant program over time based on some age group dimensions. And so we're doing monthly reporting, aggregated number of participants, and then we're dividing that up based on age groups. You can take this table and download it to Excel if you want. You can send that Excel out to anybody that you like. They can fill it out, and they can send it back to you, and you can actually cut and paste the results back into this table as well. So from a data collection perspective, that's an easy way to get after it. And you can also add attachments to this as well. So here, for just as an example, I have things like an attendance report and so forth. So you can put that in one place. As I think most of the people, if not everybody on the phone knows, as the results come together, sometimes it takes a lot of looking to try to figure out what's actually going on inside of the indicator. So in this case, we try to provide some really easy auto-generated charts. We give you bar charts and line graphs. You can visualize the baseline and targets. You can change the axes and so forth. And you can also zoom in and out if you want to try to get a differential view of what's happening inside of the data tables and so forth. And the other thing that you can do within this is that if you have complex data that you're not exactly sure what's going on, or you need a quick summary, OpenAI connection through GPT will actually take your indicator definition as well as the data table itself here, and it will write a narrative summary of what it sees. We have the temperature turned way down on this to minimize the risk of any hallucination or invention on OpenAI's part and so forth. But this can be a really quick and easy way to be able to get a good view of what's happening with your data. Anytime we do anything with AI inside of b.world, it's always editable. So in this case, you can see if I wasn't sure about that result, or I didn't feel like it was accurate, I could delete it, I could modify it, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to take a quick step back and show you a little bit about how did we get indicators into the project. So you can add indicators from essentially 3 different places today. Here, I'll just click the Add Indicator button. And one is that you can search the indicators that you already have in the application. So we have a library of indicators, activities, goals, and objectives that you can create in project elements. And that can be a huge help for normalizing your results across your different projects. So you could just pick one if you wanted. But in this case, I'm going to actually create a new one. And I'll just create a custom indicator so you get a quick view of what the indicator design window looks like. So you need to give an indicator a title, and we do our best to try to enforce good indicator design within the application. So I have to enter a definition, and I have to enter a data collection method. I'm just typing quick answers here to keep us moving. I'm going to say this is going to be a quarterly indicator. It's going to be an integer. I'll add number of participations as the unit of measure. I'm going to make it cumulative. And then I can also decide which of our dimensions we want to include as well. So I'm just going to turn on age group. And then once I have all of the key things that are required for good indicator design added to this, you can actually see I'll click the complete setup. And then it's going to put me into this view where the data table is already generated for me. So from a results perspective, all I need to do is come in at this point and say we had 15 people there, et cetera, and go off and enter that, and I'll get the results. So this is another example of where we're trying to enforce that good indicator design and best practice within the implementation. The other thing I'll show you in this view is this is where the common impact data standard alignment comes into play. In that right from this screen, you can select the JSON LD Common Approach download, and that will actually download the entire log frame contents as well as the results for you in the Common Approach aligned standard and allow you to save that file and send it to where you need to send it. So this is what the work we've done to make sure that alignment's really easy in just a couple of clicks. From a project management perspective, we've added really 3 additional key things. One is the ability to add documents. Now you can add documents at the project level, but you can also add them at the indicator level. So this gives you a common, secure, scalable store for that kind of information as a team. We've also added a very sort of simple drag and drop task management capability in the system to try to aggregate the to-dos within the b.world environment. So here you can create tasks just by clicking on the plus sign. Once you've created a task, you can assign things like a due date. You can assign them to specific people. Like I'll add this to Adina, she'll get an email notification. I can also link it to one of the activities within the log frame itself. I can say that it's to do, and I can add kind of a priority-based status, and you can tag things and so forth as well. So that gives you the ability to add and complete the work across the project. Once you've completed tasks, you can just drag and drop them in the screen, or of course you can open it up and edit them as well. And then all the tasks from all your projects get aggregated over here in the tasks global navigation. We've also added a really lightweight budget capability to the app in the budget tab. And this lets you, if you're doing program design or maybe applying for a grant, et cetera, you can actually create the budget here. And then as the implementation plays out, you can track expenses against each one of those different budget categories and to give you a sense of what's remaining in the project budget during implementation. And then the last thing that I'll show you within the project context is the stories capability. So anywhere along the path, you may want to share details about the project with a stakeholder group or with a particular individual. And that could be a donor, an investor, or again, as I mentioned in the early parts of our discussion, just for posterity's sake and for knowledge management within your organization. So we've created this idea of having 6 different story types to try to make it easier to get to a story. So the first story type is create your own story, which is basically a blank canvas. The challenge story asks 6 questions that highlight the overall challenge that this project is trying to overcome. The collaboration story focuses on perhaps collaboration between partners or between stakeholder groups. Milestones are great for when you've achieved a particular milestone and you want to highlight the achievement of that milestone to your audience. And a participant story it asks 6 different questions that are focused on perhaps a change in state for a particular stakeholder or a participant in the project. And that could be an individual, it could be a community group, and of course it could be an ecosystem as well, like beaches or forests, etc. And then the purpose story is really just the high-level story about the program. So just to give you a quick view of what this looks like when you first click create a story from blank, it essentially gives you a blank canvas where you can add a title, an author, and then you can add things like backgrounds, logos, and so forth. And then these are what the 6 questions look like. So describe where the project is happening, who lives there, etc. If you're not sure what to answer, you can, of course, as you in the other cases, you can draft those answers with AI, but you also have all of your project content is sortable, searchable, and visible on the right-hand side, and you can drag and drop that into the different boxes. For each of the different questions, you can add images, you can add a chart, you can connect to the map in the project, you can link to a YouTube video, and you can also add a button that calls out to a different place. And maybe that's a donation page or a project overview or a more detailed report, etc. So, and if you don't want to answer a specific prompt, you can actually just skip it. So in the interest of time, I'm going to show you one that's already been authored and give you a view of what they look like when they come together. So here's a draft story that's a milestone story talking about, achieving a specific milestone of the 50 people being trained. You can see that when we're describing where the project is happening, we're using the map. I'll just show you really easy how it's easy, or show you how it's really easy to add the map. So I can click on map and then just zoom in because this project is happening in Puerto Rico. And I'm just gonna keep zooming in until I get a good view of the archipelago. And maybe that's good enough. And I can just click insert map. And now that map is included in that part of the story. Same thing is true for if you want to pull a chart in. So I'm going to delete the chart that I have in here just to show you what it feels like to add a chart. So I'm going to go pick from that participants indicator that we had. And maybe that's too complicated. So I'm going to turn off the dimensions, and we kind of like the up and to the right bar graph, but I also want to show progress. So I'll include the baseline and target. And then I can just click insert chart, and you can see the chart's going to be brought right into the story. Same thing is true for images, videos, buttons, and so on and so forth. And so once you have the story to put together to your liking, you can preview what it's going to look like. And in this case, you can see it's basically going to show up like a blog. And then once you're really ready, you can click the publish button, check off this consent box that indicates that you have consent to say what you're going to say, and then you can click publish. And the publishing gives you 3 options today. One is you get a shareable link that you can send to anybody that you like, and that person's going to have visibility to this story content as long as you leave it published. You can also publish to LinkedIn and Facebook. And then the third thing is that the stories are always going to be visible here within the project itself. And they're also, all of the stories from all of the projects are going to be visible, searchable, and sortable here within the stories tab on the left-hand side. I did want to show you one last thing within the project context as well, because I know that some of the people that have joined us today don't operate alone and collaborate on projects. So one of the really unique features about b.world is the ability for one b.world team that shares projects to share an individual project with other organizations that also have access to b.world. So in this case, you can see how you can just come in, add somebody's email address. These are the people that I can see that have access to this project, and then they'll be able to go into their own b.world instance and actually collaborate on that project with you as well. So I already highlighted at the very beginning how all of your projects come together, which is nice. And I also just showed you how all of your stories come together in this one place as well. But a lot of us are really focused on, and it's very important for the quantifiable outputs of the programs to come together also. So it's nice that we've got good indicator design and data tables and outputs inside of the projects. But what if you want to look across your projects? What if you want to be able to aggregate that data together? So the results option within b.world gives you the opportunity to aggregate results across indicators, across projects. So in this case, you can see I have a number of different samples. And when I drill into any one of these, it's going to essentially give me a summary at the top, which shows you the aggregated view of all of the different indicators that are included. You get a few different options with that. You can do things like trend comparisons. You can look at min and max values. You can include baselines and targets and so on and so forth. But then if you scroll down, it's also going to show you each of the contributing indicators. And you have an easy link to go look at that direct project as well. So if you need to explore the data or view the insights that have been gleaned from those specific indicators, this brings together that narrative and quantitative information in one place. So just to show you a couple of other quick navigational constructs, you get an aggregated map because we love maps. I'm sure many people here love maps. The stakeholders view also gives you that overall view of all of the people, organizations, and things that you're engaging with. This is what one of those pages might look like. Here's Adina from our team that shows up in a lot of our demos. You have some high-level information about Adina, the organization she's affiliated with, a location that is her primary location, and then a quick link to all of the projects that Adina's referenced in as well. So I want to finish the demo portion of today, just giving you a quick tour of what we call project elements, which is essentially the library of components that you can include in the project design process. And so when you come to project elements, you have the ability to define dimensions. And these dimensions can be anything that you want. So you just click add a new dimension, give it a name, and then you can add the specific constructs that are within those dimensions. Similar for indicators. You saw the indicator design screen before. So I'm going to see if I can find our number of participants here. And here's our standard indicator for number of participants. So you can define this and then easily pull it into any project. And that really improves the ability to get to those aggregated results. Activities are the same as well. You can create sample activities that get used by giving them a name and description. Same thing with objectives and goals and so on and so forth. So to the extent that you want to create once and use many times, the project elements is really the place for that. I also want to highlight, as you saw in the indicator design within the project, that we do include the sustainable development goals today. And in our near-term roadmap, you're going to see many other standards be included within the app as well. So the thing that I'd like to just close out on is one quick administrative item, which is, once if we offer this 30-day trial and the self-service ideology around this, though we do provide onboarding support, and we are very happy to work with you on defining projects to help you get your data in and learn how to use b.world and design programs. If you've created a trial, we want you to be in total control of that trial. So if you go into the team administration, you'll be able to add or remove team members as you deem appropriate without ever engaging with us. And you can also add and manage your payment method here as well from a subscription basis. So just to jump back over to the b.world website again, where you can start trials and where you'd be able to log in the future, the pricing page defines our intent to try to make this really easy for people to get started and to be able to run with b.world. And so today we offer really sort of 3 levels. And the lowest level is what we call the 2-pack, which is $90 US a month. And that includes 2 users. And then it's 45 additional per user up to 4 users. And then it just scales up from there. So if you wanted to start with 5 users, it's 200 US a month, and then $40 per additional user up to 24, and so on and so forth as you get up into 900. If you have a very large team, please call us. Right? We're very happy to discuss differential pricing if you're going to be adding a lot of people to the application as well. So that's our quick tour of b.world for today. I'm going to turn the screen off and see if we can jump into some questions and rejoin my good friend and somebody I admire very much, Kate. So, hey, Kate, how'd I do?
Dan, it's brilliant. I'm going to highlight a few things that I loved about the presentation, and then we can move on to Q&A. So the first thing I want to mention for the audience is the importance of that indicator design. Common Approach has seen, particularly, for example, aligning with SDGs, that 1% of what the SPOs we've worked with are measuring aligns with an indicator in a standard set. 24% of what the SPOs we're working with are measuring could have aligned had they written the indicator differently. And that's where those nudges and the opportunity to search a data set and say, is there one that fits me available? Like, let's get the uniformity there. But then 75% of what we're seeing does not align with any of the indicator sets that we've examined. So IRIS Plus, SDGs, GRI, et cetera. And that's where that ability to create your own indicators, either for your organization or for a particular project, really matters. And the key advantage of using a software like b.world is that you get that nudge to get the best indicators without being forced into a box, right? So it's just, thank you, Dan, for that.
Yeah.
I also want to talk to my audience about how so much of what you offered aligns with other standards. So I saw the impact management project's impact norms there, baseline, target, connecting the what to the who, good indicator design. So by using a software like b.world, your users are aligning with other well-recognized standards, just in the process of being nudged in that direction. And I love that. You have the exports, including the Common Impact Data Standard export. And what's great about that is that funders and their social purpose organizations both need to be using aligned software, but it doesn't have to be the same one. The funder can then pull in that data, that JSON LD file, and have it work in their system. And so you're not forcing two different users to agree on the same package. Love that. The stories capabilities is so powerful. We hear this in our research again and again and again, that the social purpose organizations we're working with have stories, but don't have a way to organize them. And so that system of having a place to put the participant stories or put the challenge story, just really useful to what we're hearing from social purpose organizations. And I want to highlight that I've heard from people who've used your product in the free trial that they have used the AI and loved it, and also downloaded JSON LD files already. So just great.
Yay.
So with that, I'll say a big thank you. And
Thank you so much.
yeah.
Grateful to be here.